Good video game collections or compilations is some of the best deals you can get in gaming. A bunch of awesome games for a good price, a good value. That's always a good deal. The Nintendo Switch is home to a bunch of these, which I love. I originally posted a video that covered some of the better ones on the console, but it became quickly apparent that I would need to revisit the topic very soon since there just was so many I wanted to talk about. So here we are. Here's part 2 for ya. So without any further ado, hang on, make sure to subscribe to the channel as I tell you about even more awesome Nintendo Switch game collections and compilations. I'm kicking off today's list with one of my favorite collections on the Switch. The SNK 40th Anniversary Collection is quite different, as it does not contain a collection of its well-known and well-released catalog of NEOGEO games. Nope, instead it contains a collection of arcade and console games from before the NEOGEO era, roughly games from 1979 to 1990. It's an interesting catalog that includes some well-known games like Ikari Warriors, Athena, and Crysis, but also has some rare titles like Vanguard, Azuma Wars, and Chopper. For quite a few games in this collection, you'll get access to both the arcade and console versions, as well as different region versions too. It's a pretty impressive collection, especially since a lot of these games have not seen a console release in decades, or even at all before. Also, there's some free DLC that includes Beast Busters and Search and Rescue, with Beast Busters being one I never thought I would see a console release of. It also has one of the more impressive museum modes too, containing loads of never-before-seen artwork, sketches, and information. If you're a SNK fan, arcade fan, or a retro fan in general, you need to own this collection on your Switch based on the content it contains alone. On the other side of the SNK spectrum, I love that they released a collection of games from the NEOGEO Pocket. The clicky stick for that device will go down as the best thumbstick ever made. But beyond the construction of that handheld, it was home to some really nice games too. NEOGEO Pocket Color Selection Volume 1 includes 10 games, including the excellent Gal Fighters, SNK vs. Capcom, and King of Fighters R2, as well as Metal Slug First and Second Missions, and Dark Arms Beast Buster 1999. It is a bit heavy-handed on fighters, but let's be fair, this is SNK we're talking about. Regardless, the emulation of this is amazing. These games, even though they only use 2 action buttons, are still highly playable after all these years. Every one of the games in this collection is really fun to play. SNK fans, you need this collection. But even if you never played any of these games before, give this collection a go. I think it will surprise a lot of people. It has some really good stuff. Collection of Mana might be one of the smaller retro collections on the Switch. There's no denying it's a pretty important one. It includes the first 3 games in the Mana series. There's Final Fantasy Adventure, a pretty early Game Boy game. I'll admit this one's pretty archaic in its simple design, but the collection also includes the Super Nintendo classic Secret of Mana. It's one of the best action RPGs ever made, and one of the best Super Nintendo games. What really makes the package though, is the inclusion of the 3rd entry, known to many as Seiken Densetsu 3. For years we never got this game and never had an official English release until now. Let me tell you, as good as Secret of Mana is, I love it no doubt, the 3rd entry is probably the best in the whole series. It's a masterpiece, and a must-play for RPG fans. It's so good. It expands on what made Secret of Mana so great, while adding loads of new features. This is a game I'd love to revisit down the road in depth, but for the sakes of brevity, since we have so many games to talk about today, just note you need to play this entry in some shape or form one day. So yeah, while the collection is small, it has 2 of the best NES games ever made. For that reason, it makes it awesome. RPG fans, make sure to get this for your Switch. Okay, let's take a little break from the retro games, and let's talk about a collection of some visual novel adventure games. I've always had a soft spot for the Ace Attorney series since the days of the Nintendo DS. Filled with some crazy characters, engaging stories, funny moments, and lots of detective work. It's a series that's been known for consistent quality. On the Switch, there's a collection of the first 3 games in the series called Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. For people who haven't played these before, you're in for a treat, as these are some of the best visual novel adventure games ever made. I'm jealous because you get to experience them for the first time. For those who have played them before, well, the Switch version contains updated HD versions. It's a pretty by-the-numbers collection. That said, it contains some timeless games, and it's a pretty nice collection based on that. I really love arcade video games, and Capcom was a huge part of the arcade scene back in the day. Capcom Arcade Stadium attempts to cover a huge range of their arcade catalog from the 1980s to the early 2000s. Now, there's different ways to own this collection on the Switch. There's 3 packs that you can buy, one having games from 1984 to 89, another from 89 to 92, and pack 3 that covers from 92 to 2001. These are $15 each. Beyond that, you can get the complete package for $40 total in a bundle. Finally, you can just piecemeal it, where each game can be bought for $2 each, so you can assemble your own collection if you desire. I love that they included many options for the consumer to own this. That said, there's some awesome arcade games here, including some Street Fighter games, beat-em-ups like Final Fight, Ghosts and Goblins games, and stuff like Pro Gear and Giga Ring. If you love arcade stuff, you need to check this one out, as it has some awesome games going for it. Both volumes of the NAMCO Museum Archives have 11 Famicom and NES titles each from the NAMCO library. You'll get games like Pac-Man, Xevious, and Dig Dug, but also see titles that were previously Japan only, like Splatterhouse Ranpaku Graffiti, Dragon Buster 2, and Battle City. Each collection also includes a never-before-released game. Collection 1 has a 8-bit demastered version of Pac-Man Championship Edition, a version of the game that was made to work on NES and Famicom hardware. This version is surprisingly very good and very playable. I had a lot of fun with that one. Collection 2 has a version of Gal Plus. Likewise, this was made to work on real NES and Famicom hardware too. It's good stuff, especially to see some games we never got here before, and to get it for cheap too. For those reasons, it makes both collections ones you need to check out if you love retro games or NES games as a Switch owner. One of the best values for the Switch, bar none, is the Doom Slayers collection. It has 5 games in the Doom series. It has the Impossible port, Doom, aka Doom 2016, which is a fun as heck FPS for the Switch. It plays and runs surprisingly well, while keeping the in-your-face gameplay that you'd expect. It also includes Doom Classic, Doom 2, Doom 3, and Doom 64. 5 awesome Doom games that cover the past and present of the Doom franchise. It's a packed collection, and at an MSRP price of $50, and often for much cheaper than that, you really can't go wrong with this. Sometimes all you need is a good collection, a number of good games to create a good value. Doom Slayers collection is a good value. If you like horror games, one of the best collections on the Switch is the Amnesia Collection. It contains 3 titles in the series: The Dark Descent, A Machine for Pigs, and Justine. These are excellent horror games that are perfect for those who love the spooks and scares. It is normally on the eShop for an MSRP of $29.99, which is good, basically $10 per title, but very often it can be on sale for just a few bucks, anywhere from $2.99 to $4.99. When it goes on sale for that, let it be known, it is one of the best values you can get for your Switch. Just too bad I'm a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to these games. Speaking of eShop deals, make sure you're subscribed to the channel as I post the best ones each and every week on the channel, and you don't want to miss that if you want some awesome games for really cheap. Finally, I want to share some love for Crysis Remastered Trilogy. This collection has remastered versions of the first 3 Crysis games. Now, it's crazy to see these games on the Switch, but here they are, and admittedly, they run pretty good. Of course, it's locked at 30 FPS, and obviously there's some compromises that needed to be made, but they still look good and they play well. I'm a big fan of the first one, mainly because nostalgia, but the other 2 are good, solid FPS games as well. Let's be fair for the system, it is lacking in terms of a lot of FPS stuff, so it's nice to see a collection for a good price that has 3 solid FPS titles. If you're looking for some shooter goodness on the Switch, then you should check out this collection. There you go, that's volume 2 of sorts of some awesome Nintendo Switch collections and compilations. For those who haven't seen the first video, make sure to check it out. I'll have a link to that in the comments down below, as well as at the end of this video. So, where do we go from here? Well, to be honest, there's even more that I do want to talk about, especially since we got some collections coming out on the horizon. So expect a third video down the line, covering even more collections. In the meantime, feel free to share in the comments down below what you feel are some awesome video game collections and compilations for the Switch. I look forward to seeing those comments. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and haven't done so yet, make sure to click on the subscribe and bell buttons so you never miss a single video. That's all I have for today. Make sure to play some video games. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.